right? Like we can't say yes, the depth and all that. They're not going to be able to afford their own team.
Richard Jefferson breaks down why NBA owners are wanting out and selling their teams, even though they're worth more than ever. Let's hear Richard Jefferson's take on this.
Do you guys think that the tax cutting is killing the NBA?
Yeah, 100%. I think, yes, I think it does. I think because there are certain franchises that are going to, if the money has to be spent evenly across and it wants to be more of a football model with a hard cap, you're going to have the franchises that are still just poorly run. You're going to have the franchises that are poorly run. Or eventually you're going to get the players to a space of players have to take a discount. I've got to give you a team friendly. You can sell this team for $10 billion when you're done, but I got to give you a team-friendly deal so I can play with my brothers, or our team won't be very good. It's like if you draft all those boys in OKC, no different than the first go-around. You should be able to pay them all and still be able to put a quality team around them. They're basically saying you're going to pay these three guys that you drafted, one 20-something, one traded for 15, and then you're only going to be able to have minimum players around it because we want to spread the wealth. That's not good for basketball. That's just factual. Do I think super teams and having $500 million payroll like Boston? I don't think that's great either, but there is an in-between ground versus I should be able to keep my players and field a team around them. If that means I go in the tax for a 2 or 3 year stretch to maximize a 5-year window that comes every 20 years, we should be allowed to do that. Especially now you're hurting the smaller markets. Big markets, it's easier for them to retool quicker. It's easier for them because people want to go there. People will take less money to go play there than they will in OKC.
Go ahead.
It has accountability written all over it. This cap. Accountability written all over it. It started from the players. It started from the players like a Ben Simmons, who decided to hold out. Hold on, hear me out, RJ. Who held out in Philly.
You got to give me more than one example. There's 450.
Okay, James Harden. That's two. James Harden. Okay, Tristan Thompson. J.R. Smith. When they both held out.
No, that's not a holdout. Tristan and J.R. did not hold out.
That was what they did.
They did not hold. Okay, you got to classify hold out. Cold out. You got to classify that.
All I'm telling you is this. This has accountability written all over it. Right? Like, this is what I'm saying. It's no more laziness when it comes to front offices. Y'all have to do y'all damn job. Y'all have to go out and y'all have to scout. Y'all have to go out and y'all have to draft well. Y'all have to go out and actually hire the right coaching staff with the right player development to come in to make these players better. OKC and Indiana, what they did was in these finals was they set the bar. They set the bar. That's why on draft night, we thought we was going to have all these trades, right? Sean saying, it's going to be explosive on draft night and things to that nature. Nothing happened.
When you talk about set the bar, I get what you're saying. They did a great job, right? Like we can't say yes, the depth and all that. They're not going to be able to afford their own team.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
They're going to be able to give all of the super maxes. Then Casey Wallace is going to come up, and then all of these. They're going to be able to afford all.
That's why all of them don't deserve a super.
No. I'm not. 3 of them are going to get. 2 of them are going to get a super max. One of them is going to get a very ridiculous contract in Chet Holmgren. Go ahead.
We don't know that, Richard, because guess what? For starters, SGA just set the tone. He just set the tone for OKC. He left over $100 million on the table. He did. He signed for two.
But this is what I'm saying, though. A player now has to take less money to play with his boys.
He didn't have to. But what I'm saying,
when he did.
But what I'm saying is he didn't have to. All I'm saying is we as players got to have some type of accountability of how we got to this point. We didn't just get to this point because the owner said, or the owners of Adam Silver in the NBA say, I want to be assholes to you guys. We didn't get to this point because of that.
But Perk, I just really quickly, Allie, and we can shift to Hubbard. What I'm expressing to you is you're looking at the players for accountability. And when we talk about, as much as you had guys sitting out, the load management was coming from the teams. So that negativity of load management, and we're doing that wasn't players. That's not from our generation. That's not players. Players were being told to sit out. They were doing that. Coaches were doing that. Sports science, that had nothing to do with the players, right? There was a portion. If players want to hold out for contract negotiations, fair. 98% of players all stay within the framework of their contract, right? The point that I'm saying is, SGA had to leave $100 million on the table in order to make sure that they could structure it and he could play with the guys that he came up with and win a championship. In a perfect basketball world, you should be able to win an MVP, get your top dollar, and still be able to play with the teammates and not be penalized for being those guys earning their money and coming up through their system. J-Dub is going to get a rookie extension max. Chet Holmgren is probably going to ask for close to that. So SGA has to leave $100 million on the table versus in a free market, the Lakers can go get top dollar.
But isn't this what Braun and CP3 and them all wanted when they had a say-so in the CBA? No. But I'm saying, though, because this is what I'm saying. This is what they wanted. They didn't want no in-between. You remember, they the ones negotiated that deal when we got to this point when it comes down to...
Is it good, though? Do you agree? Fine, I'm great with the accountability. Great. Do you think that this is a good, or do you think this is bad?
This is what I think, and I give it to Shannon. This is what I think. I think it is to a point now where general managers are going to have to do their job at the highest level, not just being able to count numbers, but not just evaluating if a guy has skill or the talent, but also do they have the fucking character? Because that matters. Do they have the character? So you go get you some guys that have the character. Jalen Brunson, for example. Jalen Brunson in New York.
There's 30 teams. There's 30 teams. There's 30 teams.
I'm just saying. And guess what, Richard? If you don't, then we see a Miles Turner situation that just happened.
Channing?
I think, both of them have really good points. My thing is your perspective. If you're Adam Silver, right, you love where this is because, think about OKC. Yes, should Shea have gotten is every single dollar that was left on the fucking table, 100%. But the problem is when you do such a good job like Joe Lacob in Golden State and you're in a big market and you have a big owner, you get to keep your team that is absolutely elite for 10 years. So there's no parity, right? So it just depends on, do you want parity within the NBA? So hear me out. So Cleveland and Golden State, they went for it. They were paying big money for those teams, right? They kept their big three. Cleveland kept Tristan, Kyrie, and Braun for a long time, right? Until Braun wanted to leave. But they could have kept him. They put really good teams there every single year. So those teams dominated the East and West. The NBA said, hey, we want to create parity. So they taxed the big guys like they taxed the little guys. And it's like, for me, do I agree with NBA players leaving money on the table? Probably not. But do I like the parity? Do I like that the GMs are being held accountable? Absolutely. Do I like that you can have a real conversation with players? Do you want to win or do you want to go get your bag?
Why is it that we are one of the only professions that are forced to choose between success and financial success?
NFL players do the same thing.
Players, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying we're one of the only professions, professional sports.
Oh, right.
But this is your point. You said you want to start holding GMs accountable. This is both team perk. So if you're holding a GM accountable, and I do a good job, I can't keep my team. That's the accountability that we're looking for. Is you want GMs that have to go out and do the stuff. Well, if I do a good job, can I keep my team? Or is it that I got to do a good job and now we got to go send these players to other organizations because we have parity. So I can't keep Chet. So he's got to go to Charlotte because they have cap space. And now that GM just gets Chet Holmgren. And now he's this, you know what I'm saying? So he's still doing somebody else's job for him. So the accountability to the GM to me is more of like the.
So I believe
right? Guys will take less money to go somewhere with a better culture.
And guys should never take less money.
But I understand. But as a vet, let's say you're 30, 35, you're like, yo, I want to go here. I could get 10 on a rebuilding team, or I can go here for the vet minimum because I'm going to have a better role. That is it's not an obvious choice, but it's.
What choice did you make? Choice did you make with Orlando?
Oh, I went for the money.
Okay, this is what I'm saying. Players should be allowed to go, especially if you're staying. That's why they came up with the Larry.
The team I was on didn't offer me what I was worth.
I think you're all in agreement that you shouldn't, as a player, have to make that decision, and you shouldn't take less money. What's the solution?
Just say hello.
There is no solution.
There is no solution.
Not with this CBA. With this CBA, they're screwed. That's why all the owners are getting out. That's why part of the reason why the owners are selling. All the current owners are getting out. Again, that was part of the conversation. It's not just owners that want to stack the deck. It's not just Lakers and Celtics. Charlotte sold. Like other franchises are like Portland sold. It's just like, even when you get to a space now of like, they're looking at it, it's like, even if I do a good job and I field a good team, it's going to cost me so much money to even keep a good team. Now I got like that, just the formula of success. And we can say parity, but the parity is all going to spill down into those teams. Cason Wallace is going to go play at Washington, and they're going to be a good team. So it's like half the teams make the postseason anyway.
Well, I think when you look at OKC, the way Sam Presti has like put together this roster, right? You're looking at a guy like Cason Wallace, who probably will be up in the next 2 years, right? Next year. Okay, so hear me out. You're probably looking at him as a guy that's probably going to replace Luke Dort, right? Luke Dort is probably going to go get a bag somewhere else or to that nature, right? His time is going to be well spent or whatever the case may be. But when I look at it, RJ, and I was looking at the numbers, I believe if SGA would have waited another year, he could have got 360 next year. Right, but he took the 285 right now. Right, he took the 285 right now, and I mean, like, no one forced him to do it. No one, like he.
I'm not questioning what he does. I'm not questioning that $285 million is an absurd amount of money. People understand my energy. It's the idea that our government works in a free market. Amazon, ESPN, Disney, all of them work in free markets. You can go and get the top dollar for what you believe that you are worth. So when I think that players who are judged by their level of success have to take less money than their actual value, yes, the money's absurd, but there's still something that's not that is not positioned right. If an owner drafts all of his players and they do the work and they put together a team, and then basically 3 years in, you're saying you can't keep this team because of the rules that we have. I should be able to make that decision and not have it cost me $300 million in tax.
So you're you're rewarding the GM in that organization for drafting well and creating a culture where you're building all NBA players, all All-Stars, like MVP. So you're saying if you
that's the San Antonio model. That's the Miami model. That's a lot of these models. And a lot of these teams are just like saying that you financially won't be able to do that. Now, mind you,
pay two guys 300 plus. You got a 2
It's not 300 plus. That's what it is. That's the number. It's like saying it's like going back. If you're going to pay Ticket $20 million a year, the numbers change, so we can't frame the 300 in this. It was like, well, if they're going to have Paul Pierce at 20 and KG at 20 and blah 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 blah, it's like
that's why I had to leave. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's why it was the end. That's when shit started to down spiral because I had to go to OKC and get my bag. Here's the thing, Allie. Let me say this, and then I leave it to you. The one thing I wish Adam Silver would change is that to people who have a vote I don't want to be the one that's responsible for guys either making money or losing money. Like, I don't want to be that person, especially when it comes to the all NBA teams, right? Because that decides whether or not, like Jaylen Brown a couple of years ago, I voted him all NBA. You know, he got his 300 plus million. Now, he did send me some signed jerseys, right? I wish he would have sent me 10%, but he sent me some signed jerseys. I'll take it. But I'm just saying, I don't want to be responsible for a guy who was deserving probably to be an all NBA or deserving to get max dollars because he played his ass off or he just didn't make the cut.
This take from Richard Jefferson raises real questions about the direction of the NBA. If owners are truly walking away, what happens next? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Well, that's all I have for this video. I'll see you in the next one.